So I'm here with Alycea, the CEO and founder of 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀, one of our Imagine Cup finalists from last year. I wanted to check in and see how it's going. Alycea, tell me a little bit about 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀. What's it all about?
Absolutely, yes. So first, thank you so much for having me. 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀 is essentially a mobile application that allows users to upload photos of their hair, specifically textured hair types, to then receive product recommendations that are curated and personalized. So it all stemmed from just personalized lived experience when it comes to just finding products and just the tedious tenacity of that nature of finding products and seeing how just wanted to streamline that in the product search.
Okay, but your story is not the normal story of a Silicon Valley founder. You
I
didn't just
know.
come into a lot of money and sort of
Yeah.
go from there. You were a student when you started this. So what's it like being a student founder?
Being a student founder is juggling a lot of different hats. I was actually a college cheerleader, so on top of being a student, I was an athlete, but I've always had this passion for entrepreneurship. So coming into the space of building something that could help people from a technical perspective, but also pinpointing an area of focus where it was my lived experience of just finding products, natural hair, and navigating the beauty space as well. So as a student, you learn to balance a lot of different things, whether it be your coursework, your social life, and then building as a founder. So I already had the tools in my toolbox to be successful. I just leaned into 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀 to build it.
Fantastic. So what made you take the big step? You were there, you had all that, you said you're a subject matter expert in your area, as you say. What gave you that push to take the big step?
I really believe the next big step was just leaning into my audience. So 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 really originated from the work that I do in social media in the space of content creation around natural hair. So my audience and my community online, they were pretty much my distribution channel to figure out if I could validate this business plan in the market. And I just took a chance to realize that I'm young, I can make mistakes, so it's okay to try something and it doesn't work out, but I'm so glad that I took the opportunity to build 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 because now I'm sitting on the stage talking to you.
That's great, that's great. And how did you get to the tech side? Because you say, I mean, what did you study actually?
Yeah, so I majored in information science with a double minor in entrepreneurship and urban planning.
Okay.
So I always say that I have a very well-rounded academic experience to expose me to different things. My previous co-founder, we actually met at an internship at Delta Airlines. And so being in IT, I was on the business strategy side and he was on the software development side. So we started off as friends, and then I really leaned into the technical acumen of, as someone who's traditionally non-technical, understanding how to leverage those Microsoft products to build something that's impactful. And tech doesn't have to be as intimidating as it may sound sometimes.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. So how did you get started with Microsoft? How did that go?
Yeah, so it really started in the building process of going through that design thinking process of iterative design, and then also building a prototype. But with Microsoft, we got put together with the Microsoft Imagine Cup competition, and then from there being part of Microsoft for Startups. So having access to tools that can help us get over those hurdles, those common startup challenges of either getting AI services, expert guidance, or even Azure credits to build. And with Microsoft, it just really was a match made in heaven almost, of just having something in a community to lean into 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 and really believe in the vision that I was building with this product.
That's awesome. I mean, we've actually just launched our self-service, so anybody with an idea can get started and get $150,000 worth of credits, like you did, and go through that process, accessing GitHub Copilot to get going and things like that, and then moving on to a more stable infrastructure going forward. So let's fast forward now, 12 months. What's happened to 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀?
Yeah, so right now in the building process of figuring out how do you lean into sometimes what you can feel as a hiatus, but I've learned to lean into the calm nature of being stagnant sometimes. I feel like there's so much pressure to continue to scale, to grow, and sometimes you feel like you're running this race and you get behind, but really leaning into the users that we have now. How can we learn from them? How can we get feedback from customers to iterate and make a better product to reach the customers in the market? And also leaning into the research and development side of products, understanding how do major retailers go to market with a product in that R&D process before it meets the shelves to clients to service their hair needs. So learning how to build with 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, also juggling the content creation, also cheered this past season as a professional cheerleader. So only 22, doing so many different things, but with 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, I really want to make an impact in the space of the longevity of the industry for hair products to make sure that clients, customers are getting the products that they need.
Yeah, and how are you finding this AI world? It's moving so far. I mean, even just in the years since we've last had you on stage, things have changed. How are you embracing that within the product now? I know you were telling me beforehand you were using AI Foundry because it's got lots of different models and things that you can choose from. Tell the listeners a bit about that as well.
Absolutely. With Hair-Match, the core competency of Hair-Match is what we build with Azure OpenAI and the Foundry model. So vision language models are super crucial in the sense of having a vision interface with AI. It can do so many different things outside of just the hair care space. So leveraging that to allow users to scan photos of their hair is just for our use case, but there's so many possibilities outside of just hair that can be used and applicable. And I think that with vision language models, they've been rapidly fine-tuning and just seeing how they're getting more and more accurate. So I think in the whole AI bubble that we're in, seeing how it can apply to so many areas of expertise just shows that there's so much capability out there for even those who may be non-technical, that if you do have an idea, you have the tools and resources out there to build it. You just have to be able to find them.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, tell me about what are these other markets that you're thinking of? I mean, and where are you today with your current existing market? Have you pivoted around at all, or have you stuck with what you were thinking 12 months ago?
Yeah, 12 months ago, building as like a subscription software for the mobile application. So now pivoting in the space of the R&D. So I've been doing a lot of research prior to what I do in the content creation space. So if I do have a collaboration with a major retailer, I try to ask them questions about what does your R&D process look like for testing for products. A lot of times you'll see different claims on product bottles like 10 times stronger hair after one use. But sometimes in the research and development process of Hair-Match, I learned that's very short-term testing on a very small sample size. So trying to figure out how can I pinpoint or pivot into the space as data as a service to create this repository of textured hair to provide insights into that being a baseline for major retailers if they want to go into producing a different product for production.
Okay, very interesting. What's the business model around this?
Yeah, so for Hair-Match currently, the mobile application, it is a subscription model. Right now it is a free application because I really want to drive home the fact that I want to bring as many users as possible so we can collect data in the sense that we're building an application for the future to be able to make more informed decisions about product creation and formulation. So that's the pivot that I'm using Hair-Match as essentially just a science project to figure out what works and constantly reiterating and being willing to try different things. And my audience is very receptive of that. So I think with Hair-Match and the community, it's been super impactful to just try different things to see what sticks.
Sounds like a great use of the credits that we give you from
Absolutely.
Help you finding that the end goal of the product and things, which is great. How has Microsoft for Startups actually helped you on this process and the Imagine Cup as well?
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience to see how Microsoft for Startups really hones in on helping founders get over those hurdles of the common challenges of getting access to those AI services or the tools or just even having expert guidance. And Microsoft and Magic Cup takes it even further with the mentorship to hone our pitches, to really put ourselves in those case scenarios. If we are talking to someone who wants to be an investor, who wants to be like involved with your company, how do you have that conversation and pitch yourself and your company? So with those tools, not only the access to the technology, but just the wealth of knowledge of Microsoft for Startups. And it's like it's a program, and it feels like a family because now we're around like-minded students and founders who understand the founder journey. It has peaks and valleys. So just to see how that opportunity with Microsoft for Startups and Microsoft and Magic Cup just gave Hair-Match, myself, the validation of understanding that we can bring this product to market.
That's great. I mean, let me ask you a double barrel question. What has surprised you most about your users, and then what has surprised you most about the technology as well that you've been using? Absolutely.
So with my users, I was so interested in seeing what I thought the ideal customer would be was not the case. So originally going into building Hair-Match, we had a demographic about 18 to 25, Black women, textured hair types, but it actually ended up being mothers with daughters. So that was something that I found in the process of just having the application live on for download and seeing how the technology, it was so accurate to get us building and get us started with the vision language model and being able to fine tune and collect data on my audience in the sense of collecting their hair types and being able to train that model. And so using like the multi-shot prompting to fine tune it to understand what I'm expecting from that technology. So it allowed us to be very consistent, very accurate. And I was just shocked to see that with the technology and the support of Microsoft for Startups and Microsoft and Magic Up, how fluid the process was.
Right.
I think sometimes as a student founder, you get in this cycle of thinking, I may not be able to do this. But once you actually pull back the onion layers, you see that there are the resources out there. You just have to be willing to raise your hand and say, I have this idea and I want to build it.
Yeah. And it's getting easier as well with technology
Absolutely.
now and things. I mean, in GitHub Copilot, I can do incredible things, but which is fantastic. So what's next for the company?
Absolutely. I think that's a loaded question. I think a lot of times, even in the founder space, it's always about what's next. And I've been very intentional about staying in the present time. Being 22, I think there's been so many transitional moments of my life, graduating college, working full time, moving to a new city, having all these aspects of change. But for the company, I really want to hone in on the R&D space, learning how to be like a data warehousing place for just textured hair care in general, and seeing how we can leverage the audience that I have with the technology background, but also with the content creation and storytelling being in the middle, to be that liaison between the business, the tech side, but also the end user.
Yeah.
So always keeping the end user in mind and just trying to see how we can build on the success that we've had so far with Microsoft.
Fantastic. Now, if you could look back, I mean, you've done so much in such a short space of time, it's unbelievable, but if you could look back and tell your former self something to get you to where you are today, and sort of be able to ignore some of the difficulties and some of the valleys and the peaks and things you've had to go through, what would that be?
I would say to my past self, give yourself the grace to make mistakes. I think a lot of time in the founder journey, you want to be a perfectionist almost. You want to get it right. You don't want to make an error. But a lot of times you learn from those failures that a lot of time they don't talk about in the founder journey. So with the valley moments, just finding your support system to really lean into that, but also realizing that you're so young that you have such a runway for yourself to be able to have opportunities to pivot and to try any and everything. Don't say no to things just because you're new to them, because you never know, you could be sitting on the stage talking with someone from Microsoft like I am today.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. I mean, it actually gives me a lot of pleasure to hear this, because it means the program we've just put in place, I was saying earlier, that people can get up to this $150,000 worth of credits. You don't have to be an invested startup to do that, is actually opening the door for a lot of people and democratizing it. But what would your sort of rallying call be to people who have got an idea and are sitting on the fence?
Yeah, I would say, you know, all ideas have momentum when you start saying them out loud. So I think you always have that barrier of entry, or you'll create barriers for yourself where sometimes you'll psych yourself out, but to really just lean into just saying your ideas out loud and rallying people around you that can lean into you and support you, and to just give it a shot and lean into what you know, and even learn from the things that you don't know, because you only know so much unless you start leaning into and learning more and by asking questions.
Fantastic. Well, Alycea, it's been a real pleasure in having this conversation with you. You've done so much in such a short space of time. I speak to founders every day that in 10 years have done a quarter of what you've managed to achieve in such a sort of in 12 months. So I wish 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗀 the best, all the best for the future, and please keep it up. You're doing so well.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.